The Rocket Review is sponsored by Why Not Saloon.
We got to catch up with award-winning singer, songwriter, and drummer, and a Beatle, Ringo Starr, and also with T Bone Burnette, who is known for his incredible songwriting and producing from the Ryman Auditorium here in Nashville, Tennessee. Ringo, what was the catalyst for doing your first country music album, Look Up?
T Bone was. He was the inspiration because I met him at this party we were at, and I've met him many times, but this was just getting together. And hey, what are you doing? What are you doing? I said, oh, I'm making EPs. And I thought, well, if you've got a song, send me the files. And he sent me the song, and it's the most beautiful country track I've heard in many years. It's so sort of 50s country. And so I thought, well, I'll just make a country EP now. Most of them are like pop rock. And then he came to LA, we were chatting, and I thought, oh, I'm going to ask him to do an EP. Will he produce it? And then I asked him, do you got any songs? He said, yeah, I got songs. And he had them in his pocket. He said, 9. So I said, well, let's make an album. And that's how it all happened. There was no real plan. It was just bumping into each other, and it ended up here.
T-Bone, how long did it take you to write the initial 9 songs that you brought to Ringo Starr for this album?
Probably 3 weeks or something like that, not long. Once I started, I couldn't stop. This is a problem I've had my whole life.
Yeah, we've heard about that.
Yeah.
Ringo and T-Bone, if you could, tell us how the two of you got together, what were some of the things you bonded over, and why an album project like this means so much to both of you.
Well, we bonded as friends, actually, in the 70s, because I was resident in LA for a while, and I had a lot of parties, and any party I had, he was there. And I did not invite him once. But he would be there, and he'd come with one of the band, leave on one of them. And so we got to know each other a little bit, but only like hi. We didn't have any real conversation. And that's how this record came about, because Olivia was reading poems for George at the Marquee, the Sunset Marquee Hotel. And I was there, and he was there, and so a lot of other people were there. How are you doing? What's going on? Well, I'm doing this. And if you've got a song that you think would be good for me, send it down. And that's how it started. And then he went to Nashville, and you carry on.
Well, yeah, that's about it, really. I'm glad to be getting to be friends with Ringo, I have to say. And I have to say, too, that, American music, rock and roll, I felt when I was about, in 1957, I was 8 years old, 9 years old, and a friend played me a Jerry Lee Lewis record, a whole lot of shaking going on. And I remember listening to it over and over again, rolling around on the floor, laughing at the explosion of freedom and love and just everything that was in that record. And it was very different from Fort Worth in the 50s, which was very, I would say, rigid. It was an uptight kind of scene I was living in. And I thought, I want to do that. That's what I want to do. And by 1959, that whole rock and roll revolution was over. Jerry Lee was disgraced. Elvis was in the army. Little Richard was in the ministry. Buddy Holly had been killed in a plane crash. Eddie Cochran had been killed in a car wreck. And I thought, this isn't what I want to do with my life. It's, that's over. Rock and roll's a fait accompli. And then the Beatles came and played in New York in 1964, February 64. And they gave us back our music at that point. And they opened doors and windows that so many of us have walked through or climbed through over the years. And so I've got this deep gratitude all those cats, and Ringo in particular, you know, the gift that they've given us, that he's given us, is immeasurable. So, you know, to even get to be friendly with Ringo means a tremendous amount to me, I gotta say.
Ringo, you're certainly known for your groundbreaking rock and roll that you've done for so many decades now. But what has appealed to you about country music, and also was a part of your life growing up even listening to country music?
It was emotional. It's emotional music when I started listening to it. And I'm quite an emotional person myself. So, you know, I like to say in the 50s, every country song was either the wife's left, the dog's dead, or I need some money for the jukebox. It was always a problem. And all those great singers around. I mean, besides Hank Williams, we all start with him, or I did, and you know, Hank Snow from Canada. It's weird, I remember him so well. He did the great 8-wheel train coming down the track. It's going to take him all, it's going to carry him away. He was more country than a lot of country guys. And so, yeah, Kitty Wells, whew. Who can sing better than Kitty Wells? All that emotion. And, you know, it was great. So that's why I loved it. But I also loved the blues, and I loved pop music of the day. All those names, Jerry Lee and that. I wanted, like, that dream as a kid. If I had a voice, I'd like to sound like Jerry Lee, actually, personally, or Al Hibbler. You tell me what's happening. And Eddie Cochran, I have a story about Eddie Cochran that Ringo, Rory and the Hurricanes, which I was part of, we were going to play this gig in Liverpool, and all the local bands were there, but just happened to be that Rory and the Hurricanes, we were the top band. And Eddie Cochran hit the tree, he died. But, you know, as teenagers, we were like, well, he could have waited till after the gig. You know, that's what you like as an 18-year-old. I've had 3 of them myself. I know exactly what it's like. And, yeah, all great. Eddie was great. He brought a lot of energy to everything. And Buddy was beautiful. So, you know, I came in a little older than him, but the same route, really.
Well, yeah, the Beatles were playing Buddy Holly and Eddie Cochran and Carl Perkins and Chuck Berry. You know, Chuck Berry was in jail. That's another part of the death of rock and roll as it was in the 50s.
Yeah.
Ringo and T Bone, we've got to know, how did you come to choose this significant album cover and photo of Ringo on the front cover with a cowboy hat on?
Well, Dan Winters took it. You know this photographer? He's the premier portrait photographer in the world today. And I thought it was soulful. I thought it was emotional. I kind of pitched for it, I must say.
Yeah.
Because I liked it too. You know, Ringo, I'm fond of saying that nobody in the world has generated more goodwill than Ringo Starr in my lifetime. And I think, I say that without hyperbole. But, you know, so much of his work is very lighthearted. And yet, when you start I've been spending the last couple of months listening to everything he's recorded that is out that he's recorded. And there's a lot of very deep, serious stuff in there. I mean, Ringo has paid his dues.
Yeah. You want to sing the blues.
Yeah.
I mean, I brought the hat to the photo, that's all. Myself and the hat. I went on the internet and I thought, yeah, I'm going into the Wild West. And I brought it with me today. And that's how it happened. I mean, it seemed like there was no, hardship, you know, and there was no rows or anger with each other. It was like he was doing everything I loved. He'd send it to me. I would do what I do. I play drums and I sing the song, and he'd love that. So, you know, we were like going along on a great ride together.
Yeah, I used to think conflict was an important part of making art, and now I just think it's destructive.
Yeah.
I just think.
Well, unless you're heavy metal.
Yeah, I guess and maybe we'll get into that next.
Yeah, next record.
The The songs within this album, the 9 that T Bone wrote and also the ones that you collaborated on, just bring joy and have some of the Beatles sound to it, obviously with you involved, Ringo. Do you feel in this chaotic time that the world needs an album like this?
I think there's always a need for music and there's always a need for joy. But the world, keeps going round and there's a lot of craziness and violence and people making demands on other people. And that's the world we all know. I mean, I was born in 1940. There's a lot of people out there didn't like us. So it's part of our world. It's a pity, but I do this and hoping someone will do it too, and then there's 2 of us done it. I can't say, do this, I can't demand it, I just do it. Well done, lady. I can always tell when the fingers go up. And, that's my way of doing it, really. It's like, because it translates into every language. It's just peace and love.
T-Bone, is there a track on this album, Look Up, that you can point to and say this really showcases Ringo Starr the best with his vocals and talent?
I think Time on My Hands, you can hear him singing. It's just, you hear it's very clear. And, Ringo's got beautiful diction. You can understand every word he says. He's got beautiful tone. And what was that Harry Nilsson song?
I don't know.
God dang.
Which one?
There's a beautiful
Give me
ballad.
a hint.
I can't, well, it's a ballad. And
Without You?
No,
No.
that's good too, though. Is that Harry's song, Without You?
Yeah.
What a great song that is. Anyway, I heard, as I was going through his back catalog, I heard this Harry Nilsson song that it was a ballad, and it reminded me of Marlene Dietrich in Blue Angel. It had that otherworldliness about it. Is that a good hint? No.
Yeah. I have no idea what song you're talking about. But he did also do a song that was called Take 54.
No, that's not
And he was recording it in England with Richard Perry, God rest his soul, producing it. And where the band, I was playing drums, other players were playing, and we got to Take 54.
Oh, and that was...
Where the Bookers of Blues I made in this country took 2 days, and this one has taken like 3 weeks in all, and then you put it together. So that was just a mind blower. I mean, he was my best friend in LA, and he's left us too. Peace and love, Harry.
That's how I would end up at your house sometimes,
Yeah.
in fact.
Yeah,
with Harry
he
or
would
Van
be in the
Dyke.
house too.
Once again, since Ringo and T-Bone, you're both standing here in the Ryman Auditorium, how does it feel to play this hallowed space, and how did it come together to create a show for the Ryman?
He put the show, but I came to the Ryman first time 10 years ago, something like that. Anyway, I just felt incredible to be at the Ryman because, I came in the country music long before most of you were born. And just to be here is such a blessing, and the vibe here is so great that we ended up spending my 72nd birthday here in the back somewhere. Someone threw the party. The Ryman for me is just, it's a blessing that I can play here. And I feel, an extra little beat in my heart every time I play here.
Yeah,
So
me
far
too.
out.
T-Bone, I know you've got a star-packed album with a lot of incredible artists supporting Ringo Starr on this album. How did you put this band together to really make it the best album possible?
The band for the album is basically Daniel Tashian, me, and Dennis Crouch, the bass player. And Ringo played drums on everything. That's the rhythm section, and there are a few other guys that overdub or add something here or there. But so I started with that core rhythm section. And then, Jim Keltner and I have been playing together since 1967.
Yeah, wow.
And I know Ringo and Jim have played together a lot and love each other. Jim holds Ringo. I think they both idolize each other.
Well, he's
really.
My favorite drummer.
Yeah, well, I think and you're his favorite drummer, which is,
So it's good.
it works out. But so I called Jim. He said, that's an immediate yes. And then I just started calling other people that I've worked with here, and to have Paul Franklin on steel I think he really is. I've worked with a lot of wonderful steel players over the years, and I think he's the best that's ever been. And he played he played so beautifully on Time on My Hands. You know,
Yeah, I love Time on My Hands.
And he's got that thing that Lloyd Green had, where he just knows. He plays the words. That's another. Ringo plays the words.
I
Keltner
played the
plays the
song,
words.
yeah.
All the great musicians play the words. They play the story. They don't just play a beat or a part or I know this lick. It's never about that. It's about what does this line say and how can I score it.
Ringo and T Bone, thank you for joining us. Be sure to check out the brand new country music album out now. It is sung by Ringo Starr with a cast of guests and produced by T Bone Burnette. Look Up is out now.
The Rocket Review is sponsored by Why Not Saloon.